rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Well, if you've ever dreamed about a Matthew Vaughn Star Wars movie, you might think twice after hearing what he has to say about he would handle such a thing. You know, Matthew Vaughn, the guy behind the Kingsman films, a pretty outspoken guy, you know, in Hollywood, and that's saying something, right? Don't see a lot of outspoken people in the entertainment world. We've got some comments coming up on the program that he made recently. Also, an update on the Shawn Levy Star Wars film. I lose track of these, to be honest. Thank God for Rebel Force Radio, because that forces me to pay attention to when there are updates. But that's right. So Shawn Levy, he's attached to Stranger Things and this third Deadpool movie that's coming out. But Star Wars is on his list. Also, can you get a bigger honor when it comes to the world of pop culture to actually have one of your terms be added to the dictionary? A new Star Wars word has been added to the dictionary. We'll be talking about that. Plus, some listener feedback and Star Wars and pop culture and so much more here on RFR. So grateful to be with you. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are just a few days away from the second most popular holiday of the year, second only to Christmas, Halloween.
This Halloween season, the legend returns. Rebel Force Radio with Jason and Jimmy Mack. Can you handle it?
I'm gonna win the costume contest with this sweet Chewbacca costume. Whoa, dude! Everyone came as Chewbacca?
It sure does seem to be a popular costume this year, Kyle.
Damn it!
You don't have to be a Star Wars fan, even though I am, to appreciate the creative Halloween display one Ohio family dreamed up. Take a look here. It's quite impressive and quite huge.
Wow.
Nick Myers and his family built this enormous AT-AT.
Boom! Halloween just got awesome. We're gonna be the universe's greatest power couple. Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Star Wars. Polite pass.
Wait, you don't like Star Wars? How do you not like Star Wars? Everyone likes Star Wars.
Well, sure. I enjoy lighter fare just as much as the next girl.
It's about the dark side. How can it be lighter fare?
I'm not afraid.
You will be.
Rebel Force Radio.
You will be.
Your source for the Force.
Oh, that's so scary. That's so scary. Well, I know somebody who's never scary, and he's always dressed up as one of the biggest Star Wars fans in the galaxy, and that is, of course, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Happy Halloween to all. No, I am kind of scary when I'm sitting on my porch wearing my Chewbacca coat with the hood up and the bandolier. Yeah, I could be kind of scary. At least I know some kids are cowering behind trees when they see me, afraid
Mommy.
to approach. Yes, Mommy, the Sasquatch is handing out candy. It's like, no. It's just good old Chewbacca. Wow, that was a great montage. That really put me in the mood for Halloween. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the little Mandalorians and baby Yodas walking up and down the street this year. So I'm sure they'll be out there. Do we have any sequel trilogy holdovers? I remember a time when a Captain Phasma and a Kylo Ren and Rey everywhere.
Oh, Kylo Ren, that year of Force Awakens, that was like the costume. They were and then Rey, and a lot of the girls were Rey, but the Kylo Ren mask was everywhere for Force Awakens.
Yeah. Give me a good old Darth Vader, timeless stuff, you know,
right.
Stormtroopers. Can't beat that. Can't beat good old fashioned Star Wars. And I'm sure the Halloween tradition of dressing up as Star Wars characters will be honored by kids everywhere, worldwide.
Not just kids, but I've made my decision. I've made my decision what my costume is going to be. I am going with the Jedi Luke.
Yeah.
In fact, I ordered it down to the boots, Jim, down to the boots, because as a kid, there was nothing that drove me crazier than when you'd have this great costume that you worked on and you'd be wearing like sneakers with it. It's like, what? But you're Batman wearing little Converse high tops? What's going on? Can't have that. Can't have that. So I just went and I bought a pair of these boots cost more than the actual costume, to tell you the truth. But I'm like, there's a lot of things I can do with a pair of black Jedi boots. You know,
they're the ones that come up to the knee, right?
They come up to the knee. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I got news for you. You know, it's gone beyond a Halloween costume. Once you start incorporating boots, then it becomes cosplay. So you are definitely now.
I've crossed the threshold.
You've crossed the threshold.
All right. I've got one other confession to make. And I had a few drinks. I was sitting there. It was late, and I'm under the gun, and I'm picking out the costume pieces, and I get the boots, and I get the Jedi Luke outfit, and I'm like, I don't really have a great Jedi Luke lightsaber. I mean, I've got this plasticky Hasbro one, but I mean, I really need a good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You took it up a notch.
I took it up a notch. Yeah, I think you're right. Between the boots and the full vac metalized lightsaber hilt.
Screen authentic prop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really skating the edge of somebody who will be haunting convention centers for years to come, begging for photo ops.
Next, I'll be doing like hospital appearances just to get my value out of the costume. Nice. Yeah, I could do that.
Bring some.
Aren't you a little short for a Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
I'd be like a therapy dog. I just show up in my Luke Skywalker costume. But I'll make sure that we have plenty of pictures, and we'll post it up on RFR. On the Instagram and on the Facebook.
Now, let me ask you a question. What kind of Jedi Luke is this? Is this Jedi Luke from Jabba's palace, or is this Jedi Luke from the Death Star 2 showdown?
It's neither of those. It is the Jedi Luke that we see in the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. Oh. Because that's the costume that's available. So it's, So, I would much rather have the Return of the Jedi version, but, I already bought the boots and I got the lightsaber hilt. There it is. Max got it right there. That's the costume there.
This is a new action figure that just came out. This is the deluxe Jedi Luke from Book of Boba Fett, and he's got Grogu there in the backpack, and he's ready for action.
Yes, sir.
It's a nice figure. It just showed up. Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, and Grogu. Comes with this weird clear plastic tree of floating frogs that I'll never assemble. All that stuff means
it's not a tree, Jim. It's a force effect. Those frogs are supposed to look like they're floating.
It's a silly
thing
like that I apparently paid $20 extra for. But I figured if I was going to get the figure, because I know they're just going to put this one on a card, but it's not going to have the backpack with Grogu. And that's what I needed to have. I had to have this specifically from the Book of Boba Fett. So
that's a great looking figure. Since we're doing a little bit of show and tell, I sent this over to Mac and the Jedi Council, but I was very happy to get this this new Black Series Vader from the duel as seen in Kenobi. And this is the Vader with the cracked helmet. This is pretty appropriate now for a Halloween episode, because that is one of the more eerie moments, I think, in all of live action Star Wars. It's the way it's lit and the voice and it's, for as much criticism as Kenobi took some of it out of my mouth, it also gave us some incredible visuals, things that we dreamt of, since we were kids. And that is one of them, that moment. It's great. So I always love the show for giving us that.
All of that stuff is really strong. It's just that the Kenobi series unfortunately got a little out of focus with other storylines that had nothing to do with Ben versus Vader. But when you look at the Ben versus Vader stuff, that's strong content, and I really like it. So
it is.
That's a cool figure. I wish it wasn't Black Series. I wish it was 3.
Well, you're in luck because there is a 2-pack that is in the vintage collection of Vader versus Kenobi from that scene in that series. And what they're doing now is they're starting with the Black Series and then they're scaling them down to vintage collection. So you're getting some of the same detail. It's really impressive, I think. Despite their terrible distribution, I think the figures themselves have never been better. They're some of the best that they've done. That Luke you just showed proves it. It is damn good.
It should be for $40.
Well, yeah, then there's the price. Real quick, as far as Halloween goes, if you're wanting to spend your Halloween in a very Star Wars vein, you can go over to the YouTube channel Star Wars Kids, which Jim, we were talking a little bit offline. That seems to be the only place where there's original content, what you would call original content for Star Wars on YouTube. It seems like some of that original content on the main channel is no longer being produced or just hasn't been seen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Star Wars show, that's DOA. And This Week in Star Wars hasn't been produced either. We were thinking primarily because of the writer's strike, but it hasn't returned. So that might be part of the Bob Iger budget slashing that's going on.
But there are 3 brand new little shorts, Halloween-themed shorts from the Lucasfilm and Lego teams. There's the Sith Witch of Mustafar, and there's the Mech My Day, and there's a Mandoween. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought since it is the Halloween episode, we'd play a clip from. I watched all 3 of them, and I thought I did.
How long are they?
Oh, like 2 or 3 minutes. They're real shorties. But they're over at the YouTube channel for I almost said RFR Kids. Can you imagine? RFR Kids, a spin-off channel.
Featuring Kid Blake.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God. But anyway, here's a clip from the new Lego Star Wars mashup celebrating Halloween.
Welcome. Have some candy. Master?
I've been searching the galaxy for you. We have work to do. What is all this? Yeah, you can waste time later. Come on, shuttle's waiting. What? Why are you stopping?
I sense a disturbance. The Sith Witch of Mustafar.
Sith, who now?
When the night is dark and the lava bubbles, the Sith Witch of Mustafar arises to spread fear and troubles. First you hear an angry wail, then the woods shall shake, and a ghastly light will fill the swale.
The swale? What's a swale?
Look, the sky is dark, and the lava bubbles. She must be near.
It's Mustafar. What is the lava not bubbling? Shuttle, let's go.
So there you go. A little Star Wars Halloween there for you, courtesy of the Lego team and Lucasfilm. So
I'm trying to figure out what a swale is. What's a swale?
I have one. A lot of times between... Yeah, Jim, it's time I tell you about my swale. We've known each other a long time. I've never told you about my swale. No, a swale.
Right, well, hold on. I'm on the edge of my seat right now. This is an unexpected development.
Yes. So a swale is where in between 2 properties, you have almost like a little ditch, and it helps kind of run any water. If your house is up on a hill, it kind of helps run water down between the 2 properties. So it's not sort of dumping in one particular spot. It kind of routes the water in the swale, down the swale. At least that's the way we use it around my house, because I had to reroute my gutters and aim them toward the swale. Anyway.
Swale, noun. A low or hollow place, especially a marshy depression between ridges. Jason, I know how much you love to hang out in those marshy depressions between ridges.
I do.
That's your hang. So okay, swale. Okay,
that's swale. All right. why don't we check some swale listener feedback?
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message, Doctor, the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey Jason, hey Jimmy. This is Owen from Albuquerque. Just like to say thank you for doing the Ahsoka after shows. I love listening to those. So for Ahsoka, I read the Thrawn novels to get ready for the show. I understand you guys don't like the thought that you should have to read 6 books to understand the show, and I completely agree. I was just thinking, though, that at the end of the prequel books, Thrawn fakes his exile to climb the Imperial ranks to come back with the military force to help his home species with invading enemies. I know that's a lot, but before Thrawn gets the opportunity to go back to his home world, him and Ezra are launched to Peridea. My theory is that maybe Thrawn is hoping to use the undead army to help his own planet because the Empire is already basically gone. I have no idea if Dave Filoni has read the books or if he is trying to incorporate anything from them. My thought is no. All I'm saying is that Thrawn's allegiance is to his own species and not the Empire's. That was just a thought that came into my mind, and I wanted to let you guys know. Have a good day. See ya.
Wow, Owen's really good off the dome there. I think, Owen, did you try writing us an email first? And you're like, I'm just going to read it to him as a voicemail. Well, I don't blame you for having to read it because that was a lot of detail. Jim, I do remember there being hearing about Thrawn's homeworld and problems there and all of that. Do you think there could be a connection with what his plans are with the army of undead, we could assume, and his home planet?
No, I think in this particular situation, Dave Filoni is probably taking his cues from the Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy from the 90s, more than the Thrawn origin story that's being told in the Timothy Zahn novels. Those books, you have 3 books in that series. The first one, called, I think it's just called simply Thrawn, is it's about basically how Thrawn came on the Empire's radar and how he became an officer and rose through the ranks. Then the next one is set, I believe, in the Star Wars Rebels timeline, where Thrawn is already an established Grand Admiral, or not Grand Admiral. He's within the Imperial ranks, and he and Vader go on a mission. And then the third novel, called Thrawn Treason, is about Thrawn and Director Krennic, and I don't know what goes on in there. But there is this deal with Thrawn and his original species called the Chiss.
Yes.
And they're from another galaxy, the unknown regions or something. And Thrawn is building up power via the Empire to go back to, I don't know, free his people, the Chiss or whatever. I don't know where the books go because I didn't read. I just read the first one.
Yeah. Now, something that they've been making some hay of on social media, Jim, you talk about, and I agree with you. I think that if Filoni is borrowing anything from Zahn, it's those three books, the initial ones, part of the Legends lore. But there has been a lot made on social where Dave has entertained Timothy Zahn himself and has sort of, I don't know to what degree, but consulted with him. Zahn has talked about how well he's been treated by Dave and how much respect he has for the character and all of that. Do you think it's possible that that would be a way for some of this newer Thrawn canon to make its way into Dave's head or the story?
Maybe somewhere down the road, after they've really milked the Heir to the Empire story for what it's worth. Because this is Thrawn looking to bring back the Empire. I don't think it goes beyond that as far as the Ahsoka series or the movie Filoni's working on, or Mandalorian season 4, wherever this story emerges.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating thing. We don't know where
We
the
don't
story
know.
is going
We
to
don't know.
reemerge.
Let alone
You know?
how it's going to reemerge. We don't know when or in what form.
Right.
Yeah.
Will it be picked up in Skeleton Crew? Will it be picked up in Mandalorian season 4, Ahsoka season 2, or the Filoni film?
Yeah. Right.
So we just have to be patient, I think. A friend of mine was asking me today, Skeleton Crew, when's that happening? I said, probably at the soonest January. And he's like, I got to wait that long. It's like, that doesn't seem that far away. Whatever.
Right.
But
I'm impressed that you
are anxious
that you talked to a muggle that knew Skeleton Crew is the name of the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a muggle who is within my realm, so things are starting to rub off on him.
He's in your orbit.
Yeah, there's this like osmosis thing that's going on with him where he's soaking in information. He doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
I did the same thing to my wife and kids. They still don't know what hit them.
Yeah. Right. Wendy has no clue how much Star Wars trivial knowledge she probably has. Like it would be coming out of her mouth and she wouldn't even know what she's saying. Practically.
Oh, she always prefaces things when people ask about what I do. Wendy always prefaces by saying, I like them. I'm not a fan. I'm not like obsessed with them or anything like that. But then when you ask Wendy, who's your favorite Star Wars character? She'll say Salacious Crumb. And I'll say that answer in itself proves you to be a little more hardcore than you actually realize.
That's a deeper cut, Wendy. That's at least a B-side.
Yeah. Wendy tries to present herself as someone who I kind of know Han, Luke, Leia, Yoda, Darth Vader, R2-D2, those things. But no. She goes way deeper than that. She could sit down and talk to you about Bib Fortuna if pressed.
Yeah.
And that's beyond the skills of a very casual fan who doesn't care.
Has she ever drop a Hermie Odal into comic cover?
No. I did in the toilet the other morning, and she was really upset. But yeah, no Hermie. I don't think she can really name any of the denizens on Jabba's sail barge, but
right,
Hey, maybe I could school her on a reuse or something. I'll get back to you on it.
All right. You want to do another voicemail? Want to see what Zach has to say?
Sure. Yeah, but I appreciate also our last caller giving us sort of a lowdown on what Thrawn is up to in these novels, because I really do need to pick up on them and finish the other two. And I think that might help give a little insight into the character of Thrawn beyond Rebels and Ahsoka and the original Thrawn trilogy. He's a compelling and interesting character, so I'd like to see where he is actually in current canon.
Right. All right, here we go. This is Zach from North Carolina.
Hey, guys. This is Zach from North Carolina. I wanted to talk about Ahsoka and her decision with, not wanting to confront the Death Star and Darth Vader and the Empire during the Galactic Civil War, but caring about Thrawn afterwards. And I think it kind of rides on the assumption about her being slightly involved with the rebellion during the original trilogy, which we know she was involved in the early times with the first season of Rebels because she was Fulcrum, and she kind of goes MIA for a little bit. But we know that she reconnects at some point because she has to start training Sabine right before the Night of 1,000 Years. And so I think it's reasonable to assume then she's aware of Luke Skywalker during this time and who he is. And I would guess that the Force guides her to know the path that he's on and that this is his path to saving the galaxy, and that her best place at this time is to pass on her teachings to Sabine, the master. And so I think what's different is that after the Battle of Endor, when there's rumors of Thrawn, it's sort of the same thing with Luke Skywalker being a reason around it, because at this point, now Luke has a new mission. He has sort of built himself off from everybody else and is focused on rebuilding the Jedi, finding these different artifacts. I mean, really the only proof right now that we have he came out of that world was to get a prospective student, which was Grogu. So I think that at this point, the Force is letting Ahsoka know that, hey, you know, Luke now has a new mission. He's not really concerned about the larger galaxy when it comes to its safety at this point. So now this is your calling to take that action that you've been waiting for. So yeah, just my thoughts. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you.
Hey, thanks, Zach. What I really like about Zach's thought here is that the unique position that Luke Skywalker was in to bring about the redemption of Vader, or as Yoda and Obi-Wan saw it, the destruction of Vader. You know, they never say, and a lot has been kind of talked about this, you know, oh, well, how brutal they tell Luke he basically has to kill his father. And yeah, essentially they do, but you could also look at it this way. If Vader is, in for all intents and purposes, a separate personality, a separate individual from Anakin Skywalker, they're not telling Luke to kill Anakin Skywalker. They're telling him to kill Darth Vader, which he kind of does. He certainly brings about Vader's destruction. And maybe we'll see an episode of a future Star Wars something where, you know, he says, you didn't kill Darth Vader, I did. You know, maybe that was an Anakin Skywalker choice. Point being that Luke was in a very unique position, Jim, and it's possible, you know, according to Zach here, that Ahsoka could have realized that that wasn't her fight, and that Luke's uniqueness to that situation made it imperative that he be the one to deal with it. Obi-Wan says, if you choose to go, I can't interfere. You know, he says that to Luke on Bespin. He's alone. He can't even reach out to Ben. Ben sort of is cut off, or Luke is cut off from Ben, so he has to reach out to Leia. So there is perhaps something, again, unique about Luke's station at that point and the mission.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way of looking at it. That's a certain point of view. Another one that I'd like to present, though, is why was Ahsoka on the sidelines during the Galactic Civil War? And I keep thinking about Luke serving the rebellion, thus putting a big target on his back. He's an instantly wanted man as part of this gang of terrorists in the Imperial eye that is responsible for blowing up their big space station and everything. He's a wanted man. And as Luke begins to grow in the Force through his training, and then he confronts Vader, and Vader is able to really connect with him, then all of a sudden Vader's reaching out to Luke, right? Mm-hmm. He does it when Luke's on the Falcon. And then when they're flying on the stolen shuttle to Endor, Luke senses Vader is reaching out to him, and he believes Vader knows that Luke is going on this mission. He says, I'm endangering this mission. I shouldn't have come.
Yes.
And so I think that is something that emerges throughout the original trilogy, is Vader's connection to Luke via the Force. And that connection really started to establish itself on Bespin when they had that showdown on Cloud City. Because right afterwards, that's when Vader starts reaching out to Luke. So there's a connection made there.
Yeah.
Maybe they just had to be within the same physical realm. So if that's the case, then Anakin / Vader would already have that Force connection to Ahsoka. So when she uses the Force, maybe Vader can sense her in the Force and attempt to reach out to her, thus determining her location and everything. And if she's running with the rebels who are hiding, she's endangering the mission, just like Luke felt like he was doing on Endor.
Right. But before that moment, Luke didn't really have the wherewithal to know until later. Ahsoka might have known, that she would be endangering the operations.
Right. So after confronting Vader on Malachor and then eventually making her way back to the rebellion, or at least back to Sabine, but it feels like just judging from the dialogue in Ahsoka, that Hera was present, or at least very aware of the training going on, knew when it was happening, where it was happening, all of that stuff. But maybe it was away from the organized rebellion, like they weren't training at Yavin or anything on the base.
Yes.
Because that sort of force activity might tip off Vader to where they were hiding out. So maybe that's why Ahsoka was laying low, training Sabine in some remote location far away from the conflict, far away from Vader's attention, and training Sabine in an effort to try to get strength in numbers to then eventually confront the Empire and the Emperor and Vader and all that.
You just jogged a memory. Earlier in the week, someone posted the old deleted scene from the beginning of Return of the Jedi, where Vader is reaching out to Luke from his meditation chamber, and Luke is on Tatooine in Ben's hut constructing the lightsaber.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're definitely,
There's that other scene too. Yeah. I forgot about that one. Mark Hamill thought nobody would look at the lightsaber. They would just be in awe of his cleft chin. Look at that movie star.
Remember that.
Look at him. Wow. It's so recognizable.
Yeah, look at my chin. Can stick a diamond in there. I believe you wanted to give a thank you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because RFR listeners, especially our VIP supporters over on Patreon, they're extremely generous. And Scott St. Louis has been sending me stuff.
Yeah.
This time around, he sent me the Life Day pop-up book and Advent calendar.
Look at that.
So it's a fun little thing, you got the tree and you got the Wookiees and they're wearing red sheets and they're celebrating Life Day.
Look at
this.
that.
Showed up in the mail. My son, Michael, goes, they're acknowledging the holiday special in licensed merch. And I said, well, yeah, they are. Look at that. Well, they're really leaning in on this Life Day thing.
Well, they know. Yeah. I mean, they're no dummies. They know that they can move merchandise. I mean, it's perfect. It's a holiday tie-in. Why wouldn't they? Hey, I got one too.
Well, you got one. Also.
I got one too. Yeah. And I didn't know who to thank because there was no note or anything with it. So Scott St. Louis, thank you, man. That's really, really kind of you. I kept it in the plastic because I go, oh God, I don't know. Are we supposed to? Is this some promotion? We got to do a review of this thing, and Mac forgot to tell me or what. So, yeah, I was gonna ask you off the air, but I'm glad to know. So yeah.
So Scott's been sending gifts, and he's the one who sent me the Hasbro Chatterback Chopper.
Mm-hmm.
And
wait a minute, do I hear? Look at that!
You hear?
I hear sounds, and I see him twitching.
Scott also sent batteries. So
wait a minute, he sent you batteries.
He's spoiling us. He really is. But this is Chopper. And see, he moves and he's reacting to the sounds we're making, I think.
Hey, Chopper. Hey,
Chopper. Hey, Chopper.
Yeah,
look
same
at
to
the
you.
arms move and he shakes around and stuff. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, but it's a lot of fun. So
it's he and Lola could probably have great conversations together.
Should I try?
Oh boy. Oh, wouldn't it be great if they interacted? Oh, look at it. Max got now Chopper in the left hand, Lola in the right hand. He's about to activate Lola.
Chopper.
Oh.
Chopper shut down.
Well, Chopper's shy around the ladies. It's hard to get a word in edgewise.
Nobody saw coming. Lola and Chopper, a Star Wars story starring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Her name was Lola. His name was Chopper.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott St. Louis. It's a racket going on in here in the studio now. Oh, look.
Oh, boy.
Lola's wing fell off.
Oh, no.
All hell is breaking loose. So both of them are now quiet. Oh, no,
were you one of those kids that that pulled the wings off the bugs?
No. I thought,
okay.
I love animals. I love nature.
I know that. Yeah. Max,
I try not to smash bugs. I try to catch mice in my house.
Oh man, even the mice! Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they do make an awful crunch sound. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I know. That's I feel bad about some of my interactive encounters with mice over the years. So now I try to save them all. One time I saved one and I threw him out in the backyard. He smacked into the fence, and I think that took care of him. But I didn't mean to throw him so hard out there. I feel terrible. So I try to save them all. It's not going to torture bugs. I torture you. You're the bug I like to torture.
Your source for the Force.
Trick-or-treaters! I will take care of them myself. Time to abandon your treats. Aren't you a little old to be trick-or-treating? Forget the ghosts. Beware of me. Another trick-or-treater to add to my collection.
Well, let's take a look at headlines here.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, headlines here. Let's start off with, we got more Jude Law. Again, it's hard to keep track of all this stuff because you got before the strike, after the strike, I assume, since we got Jude, who, as you were postulating last week, is partially responsible for the holdup on the release of Skeleton Crew, because he's an actor of a lot of clout and importance, and he's going to be a huge PR tool for this show, probably one of the reasons why he was cast. So how do we have Jude Law talking Skeleton Crew with video here?
It happened before the strike.
All right.
And, some Skeleton Crew information may have slipped through the cracks as far as RFR is concerned, because we were so hyper-focused on Ahsoka. So I'm backtracking now, and I'm looking at any interviews that may have happened over the course of the last year featuring Jude Law or any of the creatives working on Skeleton Crew, because information on that show is so sparse. Still, even to this point.
Yeah.
So we really don't know much about it. So I was looking for some Jude Law interview clips, and I found an appearance he made on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon from last April. This is shortly after Star Wars Celebration in London. And Jude Law was on The Tonight Show. I'm not sure what he was promoting, but who cares? I wanted to hear about Star Wars. And Jimmy doesn't hold back. He asks him right away about Skeleton Crew. And Jude gives us a little description on this. And I believe there's like one little nugget of information in here that I found kind of interesting, and maybe a sort of revelation about what might happen in this show.
There are wonderful, as you can imagine, twists and turns and reveals. And
are there 4 children?
There are 4 children.
Okay.
They are between the ages of 10 and 12. They get lost. They come from a kind of mysterious planet. They get blasted off and lost in the world of Star Wars. And John Watts, the brilliant director of the last Spider-Man trilogy, he headed up the directors, and it's got a little more, what they described it as, is a little more Amblin. Meaning, it's an adventure of kids, but it's not in the kids' world. The jeopardy is real.
Yeah.
And it was a blast, I'll tell you.
I'm always interested, because I've worked in PR, when you can see the actor being prepped for the interview. And, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Jude Law, with his age and everything, he's probably, familiar with Amblin Entertainment. But it doesn't seem like it's one of those things that you would just, an adjective that you would just describe off the cuff, It's definitely a talking point. And so it's always interesting to me the way, all right, here's the paragraph. Here's everything you need that you can say about this Star Wars project. It's very Amblin. It's a new adjective, folks.
Yeah,
Amblin.
right.
Oh, how Amblin of you. But I get
we talked about that last week. Right. How it's really being, kind of presumptuous to assume that people know what the hell you're saying when it's an Amblin film. But yeah, you're right. It's an adjective now. But he says the kids come from a planet with a mysterious power that blasts them off into another galaxy or something like that.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, are these kids, do they go to school on Cetos or something? Maybe Balin Skull and Morgan Elsbeth triggered something on the planet to actually create that path to Peridia, where you don't need a giant hyperspace ring, or you don't need to ride in the mouth of a whale. Maybe they triggered something that makes it more accessible to get out there, and that's
could they have been in the wake, perhaps, of the Eye of Sion? Perhaps we just didn't know it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that, and it's also interesting in that clip where he goes and they literally get lost in, and he doesn't want to say the word. He doesn't want to say space. He goes lost in the Star Wars galaxy. That's another franchise. You don't want to cross the streams there.
Didn't they try to make that a film franchise with Joey from Friends?
Yeah, they did. Well, they made one, and then there was a fairly successful Netflix series, I think, that went for
that's
a
right.
season.
Yeah, I never watched that. I should give that one a spin, because I did even like that film version with Joey from Friends.
Yeah. Well, I grew up watching well, not when it was originally on, of course. I'm not that old, but I grew up with the Lost in Space reruns. After school. So,
yep. Me too. So we have more Jude Law from The Tonight Show. He talks about how it's, working in the Star Wars world might be something he wasn't really totally prepared for, and it presented a few surprises and thrilling days on the set.
What's it like being on those sets, those Star Wars sets?
The thing I underestimated was the experience of acting opposite droids and creatures, of which, of course, are all there. And so you get to work with, at times, 5, 6, 7 puppeteers. And these people are masters. So, your conversations are like, oh, who does the left arm? Okay, you do the left arm. So do you want to put the left arm like here? Or when you look at me, and it's a really weird, different type of acting, but it's
fascinating.
Fun. And then, of course, you've got to pinch yourself because you're sat there surrounded by this weird creature and this.
Yeah, you're like, am I?
And then this robot, and you're doing a really serious scene, like talking. And of course,
it's almost like fantasy camp.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw Jimmy Mack interact with 2 robots, just 2 droids, a little bit ago, and it was flawless. It was fantastic. I think you could walk onto one of those sets and not be fazed one bit. Jude Law.
I have been, living in the Star Wars universe as a reality for myself for the past 40-something years. So
been prepping for it your whole life. Be totally unfazed. You walk on set. Hey, 3PO. Hey, what's up? It's another day at the office.
I used to freak out really hard when I'd see film characters, the cosplayers at films and at movie releases and convention centers. And now I can walk by a whole bunch of Tusken Raiders and stuff and not even bat an eyelash anymore. I'm taking it all for granted, I think. Yes, taking it all for granted. But Jude does talk about one Star Wars character in particular who he came across on the set, and it really made him feel kind of starstruck. Do you want to guess at who the character? I mean, it's not a specific individual character.
I'm going to go with an R2D2 type droid. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. All right. So a droid is your guess. Let's see which Star Wars character, for lack of a better term, made Jude Law starstruck on the set.
I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
I've worked with some particularly respectable actors, but I've never been starstruck like I was when I met a Jawa.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Oh. Yes.
I saw a Jawa walking by.
You're like,
I was like, I can't believe it's a real Jawa.
It's a real Jawa. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is Jon Favreau involved with this one?
Yes, he's an exec, yeah.
He's fantastic, man.
He is.
I like that guy.
He's got a wonderful family feel in Manhattan Beach where we shot it. There were a couple of other projects going on. Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience. I hope you will have the same experience watching it.
We're excited. It'll be good. Thank you.
I wonder if it's an off-world Jawa.
With the red eyes.
Right.
Bloodshot eyes.
Cool. So
Jawa.
he was starstruck by a Jawa, you know?
Yeah.
Utini.
So there's going to be a Jawa. Jawa's confirmed for Skeleton Crew.
We're going to name this episode of RFR, you know, Jawa's confirmed in next live-action Star Wars feature.
Sources confirmed.
Yeah, sources confirmed, yeah. I love it.
So that's Jude Law. We'll be looking forward to Skeleton Crew. Should be coming at the beginning of 2024. We'll have after shows. You know we will.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be live streaming after shows. It'll be a blast. So, and it's going to be nice because there's some blue sky ahead of us here with some fresh characters and maybe a little bit of a different take coming from the creative crew behind the Spider-Man films. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as I said at the top of the show, Matthew Vaughn, you know, he's a pretty outspoken dude, filmmaker. I love the Kingsman movies. I didn't think I was going to like them, and they were I sort of discovered the first one after it already had its theatrical run, and I didn't read the graphic novels or any of that, so it was real fresh for me, and watched it and loved it, and then I really enjoyed both of the follow-ups, that whole universe that he helped establish for live action. Outside of that, I can't say I'm a big, you know, Matthew Vaughn fan or really have any great knowledge of his career, but I do remember at some point in time people saying, you know, he should have a star. You know, every big director and filmmaker has been at one time, you know, hey, he should have a Star Wars. But man, I heard about these comments and I'm like, maybe not.
Well, you know, Matthew, he was really riding high on X-Men, the X-Men First Class film.
Right. Yes.
Which a lot of people felt got the X-Men franchise back on track. And it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he worked.
Well, he recast everybody, right? He recast a lot of the main principals because he went back in time.
It was younger versions of Professor X and all the
Magneto and
Magneto, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's a really well-known producer and director. He directed Layer Cake with Daniel Craig.
That's right. Which got him the Bond film. It was his performance in Layer Cake that caught the attention of the Broccoli family.
So Matthew Vaughn, you know, he's got a resume and it's a good one. And he appeared on one of our favorite shows, Happy, Sad, Confused with Josh Horowitz. I like his show a lot. And because Josh always asks the important Star Wars questions. That's what I like about it.
There's anybody remotely associated to Star Wars, even if they're not, he's going to find a way to sneak in a Star Wars question. Yeah.
But he does ask Matthew Vaughn, you know, would you accept a Star Wars film or would you turn it down? And Vaughn says, yeah, you know, it would be easier to turn down nowadays, is what he says, you know, but he doesn't really elaborate on that very much because he doesn't want to jeopardize his entire career by bad mouthing the Disney company.
Yeah.
You know, that's
and 20th Century Fox, and you know, I mean, all the Disney auxiliaries.
Right. Yes, yes. And so, you know, he plays it safe there, but he does start to elaborate a little bit about what he would do with Star Wars if he were to be allowed to play in the sandbox. And so he talks about what would be a very controversial thing, you know, a full recast and reboot of the core characters from the original trilogy. So let's hear what he has to say about that, and then we shall discuss.
For me, doing a Star Wars movie is to play with the characters that I loved. So if they said to me, we'll reboot, do you want to reboot Star Wars and actually have Luke Skywalker, Solo, and Vader, and you do your version of it, everyone would say you're an idiot to try, but that would excite me.
Oh my God. You have a death wish. That's so scary to even contemplate recasting.
It's fun. Why not? Bond. Do you mind Bond?
That's true. That's true.
You know, you asked me who's going to play the next Wolverine.
That's true.
Why are these characters so hallowed that from 77 you can't redo it for a new audience? And that's the story. I mean, Star Wars is the Skywalker family.
Yeah.
All right, and that's where I think they've gone wrong, because they've forgot that it's, you know, and they've done brilliantly in the TV, but it needs an epic new film, and that's what I would do. I'd go, right, everyone's going to go batshit crazy, but let's bring it on, because if you want a new generation, make the movie for them, and the old generation can hopefully make it well enough that they go, okay, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of agree with half of what he's saying here. Let's start with the parts that I agree with. I agree, Jim, as I've said, I don't think the characters are so hallowed, or the actors rather are so hallowed that they cannot be, that the characters can't be recast. I think they should, when it gets in the way of telling the stories that they're trying to tell now. I agree with him there. I also agree with him that the heart of Star Wars for me will always be the Skywalker family and the Skywalker saga, period, end. The other stuff is fun, but it's a diversion out of the core heart of Star Wars. Where it falls apart for me is this idea of a reboot, a remake, you know, whether it be, Rob Zombie remaking the Halloween films for a new generation. It's always going to be a second-rate version. I can't think of, I'm sure there are some, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of, epic remakes. I remember that when the Psycho movie came out, I can't remember who that director was, but Matthew Vaughn,
Gus Van
Sant. It was like a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
But the idea that you're going to ever do it better than George Lucas with that story that he created and that technology that he created, Josh Horowitz was very kind, because he said, "Oh, you're," and I think he wanted to say stupid to think that. But anyway, so I agree with him part of the way.
Well, I mean, I don't think you have to look any further than the other Star franchise, Trek. And they squeezed out a whole trilogy of stories recasting those iconic characters. I mean, I think a lot of Star Trek fans felt like that couldn't ever possibly be done. And now we're in a place where we've had multiple actors playing Spock.
Sure.
And
right.
Who would ever consider anybody other than Leonard Nimoy playing that role? So it can be done. But I think the mistake would be remaking the original trilogy.
Yes.
I think it would be great to make a film with Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Leia, maybe something that happens between Star Wars and Empire, or Empire and Jedi, something like that. That would be very interesting by fully recasting and everything. That would be great. I think the timing on the Solo film was off, because Harrison Ford still has ownership of the Han Solo character. He had just played Han Solo in The Force Awakens, and then he was going to return to the character again a year after Solo. So the timing of that, just the mere presence of the Solo film with Alden Ehrenreich playing the character, it's off.
Yeah.
And maybe, 5 or 10 years down the road from today, it might be an okay idea, because I don't see Harrison Ford returning to that role.
Yeah.
I don't, unless, but then there's this deep fake technology too. And you have to appreciate what that's bringing to the table to a degree. But the Star Trek films, I think, ultimately proved that they weren't sustainable. It didn't carry on like I think Paramount was wishing. I think they wanted more than 3 films out of that.
Oh, yeah.
They ran out of gas.
Yeah.
You worry about that happening with Star Wars,
because
then it becomes just a whole, experiment. Why even consider doing it? And then he brings up the Bond example. But I mean, I don't think that's very valid, because we're not talking about remaking a film like Dr. No or From Russia with Love. We're talking about fresh films with a new Bond actor. So if you wanted to do fresh Star Wars films based in the original trilogy era with new actors playing Han, Luke, Leia, etc., then I think there's room for that. But a reboot of the original trilogy, why even bother? I mean, it's some things you just don't want to touch. They never fully remade The Wizard of Oz.
No.
The Wiz doesn't count.
Return to Oz was a sequel, and it wasn't even really based on that classic film.
Yeah, some things are just untouchable in fiction, in film. It's just untouchable.
I've often thought about, how beautifully Rogue One captures the feeling of the original trilogy with the Yavin base and the attention to detail, down to the hairstyles of the extras, sideburns, all of that. That if you took that level of detail, that dedication to the look and the feel, and then you popped in these actors playing the role of Han, Luke, Leia, etc., I really think you could have something there. You could tell stories in between the films in a way. I would be all for that. What was turning me off was the idea of, we're going to just remake the originals, for a new generation. And what makes those so great is, and what I think, I'll say this as much as I am a Trek fan, they're miles above a Star Trek film. They are like The Wizard of Oz. They are like Casablanca. They are like Citizen Kane. I mean, they are, especially that first one. It is classic cinema. I don't see it. I almost see them as, they're the nucleus of a franchise, but they themselves to me are just sort of sacrosanct. They always will be. And I'm trying to say that in the most non-fanboy way possible. I'm trying to say it as somebody who appreciates arts, culture, pop culture, that sort of thing.
A lot of attempts also to modernize films and bring them to a new audience with a retelling. Those retellings and things, they often seem to be very disposable. Like they go through you like a hot tamale, it just goes right through you. And then then at the end of the day, it comes off as a money grab. And that is insulting to the legacy of the original content. So Matthew Vaughn better be careful. He better tread lightly, because you never know. Kathleen Kennedy might wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day and decide, let's reboot this sucker. Vaughn was right. Call him. Call him, because she does give a lot of creative authority to these individual filmmakers she finds herself interested in, which often are like flavor of the week type people. And our next story might be an example of that. Like, are we looking for the best creative people to work on Star Wars? Or are we looking for people who tick off certain boxes,
Right.
They just created something that's popular. They're the current golden boy in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Just because somebody has that sort of status doesn't necessarily mean that they're right for Star Wars. And Star Wars has always had a tendency to bring in people who know nothing about Star Wars. And I'm really beginning to question that sort of approach, because there are certainly many, many filmmakers in Hollywood who started their career because they were inspired by Star Wars and they know everything about it. I mean, look at our friend Kyle Newman. There's a perfect example right there. But those in charge tend to turn their back on people who profess their fandom.
They almost seem attracted to the opposite, right, Jim? Don't they seem more attracted to, like when J.J. Abrams said, well, I'm not even really a fan of Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I prefer that. Right. And they put him in charge of rebooting the whole thing. Yeah. It's a contrarian approach that I just don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some of the Star Wars infusion that J.J. put into his Star Trek reboot was met with a bit of trepidation from hardcore Trekkies.
Yeah.
Even still to this day, I
remember some Trek fans saying, oh boy, that was the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen, when they walked out of that first one. I really enjoyed the first JJ Star Trek. I had really high hopes, but it just he really fast tracked it to the point where those actors as those characters hadn't earned some of the moments that he was giving them in the subsequent films. So, yeah.
Sounds like a consistent trait of Mr. JJ.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And an unfortunate influence he's had on Hollywood in general.
Rushing. So, Shawn Levy, what about this guy? Think he can fit a Star War in between Stranger Things season 5, the fifth and final season, and his big team-up film with Wolverine and Deadpool 3?
He's another one of these guys, flavor of the week kind of guys, successful with Stranger Things, and he's hooked up to the new Deadpool movie. But does that make him a great creative for Star Wars? Well, let's listen to some of these quotes of his that he has. He's expected to work on Star Wars after the strike is over and everything. The writer's strike is over, so he could be developing new Star Wars film as we speak. But he also is heavily involved in the Deadpool movie still, in post-production. And he's expected to be in charge of the 5th and final season of Stranger Things. So once that stuff gets out of the way, so he's like on the Rian Johnson fast track to Star Wars. Rian Johnson has all of his Knives Out stuff going on, and so that's what he always says is keeping him away from Star Wars. So, but Levy, he's talking about it. He talks to Variety. And they ask him some questions here. We don't have any audio from Shawn himself because this was a print interview. But, I get fascinated by these little AI features they have on the web where you can, listen to the article. So I pulled the quotes from the Variety AI voice.
Hey, what a cool idea.
And we'll be standing in for. Hey, it's better than listening to us read the quotes.
Yeah, so, what a great idea.
So let's see how this works here on Rebel Force Radio.
All right. So this is not the voice of Shawn Levy.
No. It'll be very obvious as soon as you hear the voice. The very first word you hear from, you'll know it's not Mr. Levy.
All right.
But the question proposed to Shawn was, Mark Ruffalo said, "You always get the same version of Star Wars each time. Now that you're working on one, how will you do things differently, Shawn Levy?"
When Kathy Kennedy brought me on board to make a Star Wars movie, her central mandate to me was I want a Shawn Levy movie. I want a story and a tone that reflects you and your taste and what you bring to your movies with a Star Wars story. So I have felt extremely empowered. We are in early days, unfortunately, because the development process was abruptly paused due to the WGA strike, but I feel very empowered to trust my instincts in the development of this story and movie.
Dude.
Is that effective?
No, I love that. No, I love that. I'm reacting. It took me out of it. No, I'm reacting to the quote where Kathleen Kennedy told him, "Oh no, I don't want a Star Wars movie. I want a Shawn Levy movie."
Yeah,
what?
But that's her MO. That's how she's been doing it all these years.
Yes,
and that's what makes me constantly lose the confidence. Is like Star Wars should be shepherding these filmmakers. These filmmakers shouldn't be shepherding Star Wars. That's why I always wonder: are they bringing in the right people, or is it constantly an experiment with the new flavors of the week in Hollywood to throw everything up against the wall to see what sticks? There's no guidance here. There's never any sort of like plan.
Hey, look, I'm looking for a Richard Marquand movie. I'm not interested in a Star Wars movie. I want a Richard Mark. Can you imagine that conversation ever happening? What in the world are we talking about here? No, I don't want to. And what the hell is a Shawn Levy movie? These people are so full of themselves and their egos. Like people line up to see I'm lining up to see a J.J. Abrams movie. I'm lining up to see a Shawn Levy movie. Get over yourself. I'm here to see the big IP. That's what I'm here for. Oh, these people.
Here for Star Wars.
So what a stroke job on this guy.
That's why I think it's more important to look for the best people to work on Star Wars, as opposed to looking for who you think are the best people in Hollywood to come to work on Star Wars. So, Sean, what has Sean done in his career, though? Now that you bring it up, I'm curious myself to take a look at some of the things he's done throughout his career.
Fire up the old IMDb here.
I got the IMDb up your butt.
And I'm not trying to say that he's I wasn't saying he's an egomaniac. I was just saying that the way these people are stroked is just ridiculous. Of course, you're going to be working on Star Wars. The fans aren't interested in anything other than what kind of Star Wars movie you can make.
Oh, there he is. Okay, I found him. So he's a guy who's, he's like in his mid 50s. So definitely of the Star Wars generation. Somebody who's probably influenced by Star Wars. He was a producer on Night at the Museum, on both of those films. How does this guy really make his mark? Free Guy. Okay, the film Free Guy. I really think it's the Stranger Things.
I think so too. He directed a lot of the Stranger Things.
So that's really been the thing to elevate his career, because everything else I'm looking at on his IMDb is pretty run-of-the-mill stuff, TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries and Cheaper by the Dozen. He was
getting their start. Yeah, I mean, this was him getting his start. But yeah, Stranger Things put him on the map and put him on the radar of somebody like Kathleen Kennedy, because they see Stranger Things, what it did for Netflix. Huge. It had huge pop cultural ramifications and still does. I mean,
instead of, making Star Wars the priority, she's making the young filmmakers the priority, because I think she needs, So I just wish I had, a stronger feeling about Lucasfilm itself actually having some backbone when it comes to Star Wars. And I think, in certain corners of that place, guys like Filoni and Favreau, they got it down. They know what they're doing. But everything else is just so random, and it's like a variety. And I don't know if that helps or hurts Star Wars necessarily. I think fans want more consistency than anything else, more consistency as opposed to different takes. Like Star Wars Visions, a different take on Star Wars. To me, it all that stuff feels very disposable. And it makes me wonder, why are those even being prioritized in the first place? Feels like we're taking our eyes off the prize because the studio can't seem to get a feature film together.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing a Star Wars Visions season 3 with some of the Iger cuts that are happening. I think that's going to be some of this.
I would like to see a leaner, meaner, more focused Lucasfilm, focused on Star Wars, not young Jedi adventures, not stuff like that. Just let's get the film franchise on its feet and let's provide guidance for these young filmmakers, as opposed to just saying, hey, bring in your wild ideas and we'll announce you're doing the next film until you're not doing the next film.
I was 6 years old sitting in the movie theater watching Return of the Jedi for the first time. That's not much older than the kids that they're targeting, this young Jedi adventures. And I was hooked for life. If you make the right movie or TV show, you can have the 5 and 6 year olds and their 30-year-old parents. It is possible. Right. George proved it over and over and over again.
True that. Very true. So let's get back to Shawn Levy. Could Deadpool 3 be good practice for Star Wars, Shawn?
The experience that I'm currently having with Marvel on Deadpool is showing me firsthand that it is indeed really possible to feel empowered and personal about making a movie within a universe that is bigger than any one film. My Deadpool movie is turning out to be exactly what Ryan Reynolds and I had hoped when we started off. So I'm going into the development of my Star Wars movie with a similar optimism and faith that my instincts will be allowed to lead the way.
There you go. It looks like he's having a good time on the Deadpool film, and maybe that will fuel him for Star Wars. He mentioned Ryan Reynolds in there. So I think Shawn Levy, he's the type of guy who it's very important for him to have a good working relationship with the actors, or even a friendship. He does have a friendship with Adam Driver. This I didn't know, but Variety knew this. And they asked him, since you're close to Adam Driver, could your Star Wars movie be a prequel to Episode 7, The Force Awakens, in which Kylo Ren would be back?
Your words, not mine. As you know, Adam is a buddy, and I've always been a huge fan of Kylo Ren. But no comment.
No comment. Oh, that always means that there's something perhaps lurking beneath the surface.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. So,
I still want to see some. I want to see some Ben Solo action from Adam Driver. I really would like to see that, because boy, that 5 minutes that we got of Ben Solo in Rise of Skywalker, I thought was some really great stuff. I've talked about it before, but I mean, he just shows he's got a comedic sense. I mean, he's a really fine actor, and he had shades of Harrison Ford, kind of through that, just that little chase sequence in that saber duel and everything. I just think there was a lot more that we could have got out of Adam as Ben Solo than we got. I would love to see that.
Oh,
that revisited.
absolutely. Yeah, it was a shame it was all mashed in there at the end. He didn't even get a line of dialogue.
No, but that's what was making it so good, his expressions and his mannerisms and everything. I just thought he really did create a separate character for Ben Solo, I thought.
Yeah, and I like seeing the character with the blue lightsaber as well.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was, always a great way to chart their progress, is the color of their saber. Right. So that's Shawn Levy. I wish him all the luck in the world. I hope he comes up with a great Star Wars film, and I hope it actually gets in front of cameras and gets produced and made, and we get to see it, and it's awesome. But one guy who isn't going to get that opportunity is the guy who was working on the Lando series, Justin Simien.
Yeah.
So he's gone through the Lucasfilm ringer.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. Justin Simien, we covered this story back in July when it turned out that we all found out, and Justin at the same time, that the Lando, that he would not be doing the Lando series, and that it was, the Lando film. At that point, it was a film, and it was going to be handled by the Glovers. And
no, it was never. Wait, hold on. It was originally announced as a series.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. It was a series.
Stephen Glover said it's going to be a film.
Stephen Glover said it's going to be a film. That's correct. That's correct. So, when it came to Simien, he was talking about how he learned it at the same time as everybody else. He says, but he reflected on it very recently with the folks at The Wrap. He said, he's talking about when he saw it on social. He said, it was the first time I had gotten any official confirmation at all about what was happening with Lando. You'd certainly hear rumors. It's a small town. Donald Glover and I have a lot of mutual friends. So I had some idea of possibilities of what might be happening and why we haven't heard from anybody. He also draws some comparisons between his project and Guillermo del Toro's movie that we talked about last week, The Rise and Fall of Jabba the Hutt. He says, I'm seeing Guillermo making the rounds online, who is also attached to The Haunted Mansion, incidentally, which Justin directed. He says, at a certain point, talking about a Jabba the Hutt movie that didn't get made, there's a pattern, isn't there? And at least I'm not alone in this situation. But I would say, I don't know how it went for Del Toro. I don't know why anybody would sign up for that again, to sort of pour your heart and soul into something and then to wait for several years and then find out in an article that someone else is doing it. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that again. That doesn't sound fun to me at all. He says, the good news is that I'm a huge fan, truly, genuinely, of Donald Glover, and particularly the work with him and his brother do. So I'm also happy to just be a fan and watch it and sort of get to experience it in the way an audience would, because it's certainly what I wanted to see when I said yes to the project. So what's interesting about this, Jim, is that not only did he heard about it when we as fans did, but it was after he had already done a pile of work, sat around waiting for them to get back to him for years, And he never hears anything. And the clincher is he still hasn't officially heard from anyone at Lucasfilm or Disney that you're off the project. They tell you through the press. And that is, I don't know of another business that works that way. I'll be honest. I mean, maybe I'm naive. I don't know of another business that works that way, where you hear about your firing in the press.
Yeah, I can, he talks about a pattern. I could point at a couple of, Ashley Eckstein found out about the Rosario Dawson casting for Ahsoka via social media. I mean, a little heads up may have been nice because they were dangling live action Ahsoka in front of her as a carrot for years. And then another one is this actor who played a love interest for Ahsoka in the Clone Wars season 7, who was then replaced by the Martez sisters in a reshaping of that particular arc in Clone Wars season 7. So there's an actor who played a character that was supposed to be a love interest of Ahsoka's. And then once they retooled the episodes for the return of Clone Wars, it was switched up to from the love interest to the Martez sisters. And this guy, he didn't know that happened until the episode was released. He was even going at this actor. He's going on social media promoting it. Yeah. And he didn't know that he had been put on the cutting room floor until the episode actually aired.
And look, we're not talking about whether this is legal or whether there's precedent for it. I'm just saying that it's a bad look, and that I think they should strive to do better and not do this. This is embarrassing. Gina Carano is another one who found out about her firing through social media. She was never officially notified. So it happens, but it's not all right. It's not all right by me. I think it's a cowardly way of dealing with things. And I'm sure Lucasfilm's not the only, or Disney's not the only company that deals with their problems in this way, but it doesn't make it all right. And so I do feel bad for Justin. And it's sad.
The Gina Carano thing's just a little bit different because she sort of created her own destiny. Whereas this guy, he signed on to work and worked and as a professional and then just got ghosted.
Got ghosted. Yeah. Right in the haunted mansion.
But I mean, he did what he was supposed to do.
Right.
Gina was resistant to change and didn't want to stop doing anything that she was doing. And it ultimately led to her demise.
Right. But you could get a letter, like you could get a letter from the company that's employing you. So
right.
You're
or
no
just
longer.
Or your agent gets informed via a fax or something. I don't know who's still using fax machines, but send a fax,
Email.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, so I'm sure Justin will be just fine, but he's not like, we had the quotes from Guillermo last week where he was saying that he'd do it again. If the right project came along, he'd throw his hat back in the ring for Star Wars. And Justin's drawing a line of distinction saying, yeah, not me. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'll watch it as a fan.
Guillermo now has quite a bit more clout after he's won a few Academy Awards and stuff. So, and all of that emerged after he stopped working on Star Wars in 2017 or 2016, whenever that Jabba movie
Godfather movie.
Yeah. Would it be great? Hey, we know that Lucasfilm doesn't throw ideas away. So the possibility of a Jabba film could maybe happen down the road. Maybe the Rogue Squadron idea for a film might also be resurrected. There's or even a Boba Fett film would be welcome. A young Boba Fett where he's in his prime as a bounty hunter. That would, I mean, that's fertile territory. Just because you did a streaming series about old man Tem living with the Sand People, you can, the character is still viable.
Yes.
It could still be used in a feature film situation. So,
yeah, sure could.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's crack open the dictionary, shall we? And let's see if there's anything new to glean. Oh, yes. There's a brand new word alongside 690 new words being added to the dictionary. Guess what? word has been added from Star Wars canon?
Well, I already know.
Oh, I was giving listeners time to shout it out. Of course, it's Padawan. Padawan really has established itself, rooted itself in popular culture. We've played a number of Padawan references on Star Wars and pop culture over the years. Growing up in the 80s, I would often hear it would be quoted, young grasshopper.
Yes, like
from Kung Fu. Well, that has changed out. It's no longer grasshopper. It is Padawan, my young Padawan. So,
and it's a fish.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the Merriam-Webster dictionary now. Padawan, noun. A young person, especially when regarded as naive, inexperienced, etc. That's the informal usage. The formal usage, obviously, would be the term Padawan referring to aspiring Jedi Knights whose education is overseen by a Jedi Master. That's the in-universe. But outside the universe, I guess people are casually using Padawan as a form of addressing people. It could be
your protege, your intern.
You could just use it in
the Padawan
any ways you want to. Now, the word first appeared spelled with a different spelling. It had 2 A's at the end, so it was Padawan. So Padawan. And the first time it ever appeared was in George Lucas's rough draft outline, just his outline for Star Wars, the outline he called Journal of the Wills. So the very first time George sat down and started writing about Star Wars, he had this word Padawan rocking around in his head. And it is his. It's uniquely his word. Some people say that Padawan might have been influenced by a word used in Edgar Rice Burroughs' novel, A Fighting Man of Mars from 1930, where a junior rank in the Martian military forces was referred to as Padwar, Padwar.
Yeah, because George often rooted these words oftentimes in some sort of derivative. They derive from something real. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he loved the pulpy sci-fi novels. And Edgar Rice Burroughs was probably on his reading list, and he saw Padwar, and so he changed it to Padawan.
This isn't baby babble that he used to record when he was making the prequels. When he would have a little jet babbling words, and he would jot them down, and then like Gungan and things like that. Padawan, as you say, Jim, dates back to those early legal pads, those yellow legal pads that George was writing his original outlines in.
And it is nowadays used. It could be used like derisively. You say, really? When you're talking about someone who doesn't have their what together, you could call them a Padawan.
They're just a Padawan.
You could call, instead of saying, oh, they're green, you say, oh, there's a Padawan. Inexperienced, Sometimes people use it on social media to taunt someone else in a disagreement. Oh, really? You're a Padawan. You don't know. Or it could be used as an affectionate way, someone who you look at as a protege.
Yeah. You're grooming them. Yeah, mentoring. Yeah.
And it could be used to describe a brand new Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Padawan. The only movie that kid
a
saw.
new Star Wars. Oh, see, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, is that getting too, like, the line is getting too thin there?
Yeah, I'm not digging that. I don't want a name like Trekkie or Trekker. Like, I don't want to have a brand. Mm-hmm. I just, Star Wars fan is fine with me. New Star Wars fan is fine with me, but not always a Padawan fan or whatever. Ugh.
You have much to learn, young Padawan.
Yeah. In universe only.
Padawan has to be distinguishable physically by the braid they grow. And the longer the braid grows, then the more education they've acquired during their apprenticeship. And then when they've reached the level where they can be considered a Jedi Knight, clip off the training. It's just like it's like that tassel you put on your graduation cap and you move it from one side to another after you get your diploma.
Yes. Yeah. Wonder how often they have to rebraid that.
Wendy had one when I first met her.
Really?
And this was years before Phantom Menace came out, but she had a Padawan braid. It was so cool.
Really?
It was, yeah. And then all of a sudden, Ewan McGregor shows up on episode 1 and he's got one. It's like, holy crap, you're a Padawan. I didn't even know this. I married a Padawan.
Yeah, that was the initial attraction right there. He just somehow you knew.
Somehow I knew. Somehow I've always known. But there also is a real world Padawan term. It's the Padawan municipality in Sarawak, Malaysia. So if you're out there listening to RFR in Sarawak, Malaysia, say loud, say proud. And it's a district of the city of Kuching. And the Star Wars term has no connection to the Padawan municipality in Sarawak, Malaysia.
Well, and if you're starting to feel really bullish about Star Wars encroaching into a legitimate culture by way of the dictionary, here are some other words that were inducted this year. You've got goated. And I don't mean, they goated them into making a decision. I'm talking about someone or something considered to be the greatest of all time, GOAT. He's just been goated, like Rebel Force Radio has been goated as the preeminent Star Wars podcast. I like that.
Nice.
Bussin'. This was my old man moment. Some time ago, I had to ask my, at the time, 10-year-old, what is bussin'? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Well, it means something that is extremely good or delicious. That's bussin', Dad.
That's bussin'.
Okay.
That's bussin'. And if it's not bussin', it's mid.
Damn,
you got to know.
I got a lot to learn. I got to learn it. And doggo, slang for dog. I put doggo up there with kiddo. I'm not a fan of either one of those, to be honest.
I don't like the term kiddo at all. I prefer Padawan, actually. Who needs kiddo? Call them Padawans. Let's make that mainstream. Yeah, kiddo.
It's better than
the kiddos.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. I'll tell you what I am a fan of, and a lot of people are a fan of, and that's Rebel Force Radio on the Patreon.
Ooh, yes.
There's a lot of people saying, oh, man, I miss having more than one show a week. Well, there's always more than one show a week when you support Rebel Force Radio on Patreon, right?
Yeah, this week we got a good one, too. RFR Q&A, number 183, the Mount Rushmore of Star Wars streaming episodes. We replaced the heads on Mount Rushmore with our top 4 Star Wars streaming show episodes with RFR VIP Mike Aragon. Mike's great. He brings some great conversation to the Q&A, and that is the highlight of this latest episode of Q&A. But we also hear all of Mike's thoughts and opinions on Ahsoka, and I share my opinions as well, and we discuss a lot of that season on this episode of Q&A. Plus, we talk about things like comic books, Heir to the Empire, the High Republic, so much stuff. So that is a great episode to check out, and you can listen to it. All members of RFR on Patreon, every supporter has access to RFR Q&A, whether you're donating $1 a month to the show or more. Everyone gets those Q&A episodes, because I want everyone to hear how cool our VIPs are. And that's a lot of fun, that show. And you can get the full show video for RFR Q&A too if you're a member of RFR All Access. So we have a lot going on. The Babu Freaks are on deck. They're going to be showing up here pretty soon, hopefully before the month is over, very early in November. RFR RPG is happening with the adventures of Podcasters and the gang, full show video, ad-free episodes of RFR, and so much more. You can only get it at Rebel Force Radio on Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Join today, support your favorite Star Wars podcast, and get a lot in return. That's patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Boom! Halloween just got awesome. We're gonna be the universe's greatest power couple, Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Star Wars. Polite pass.
Wait, you don't like Star Wars? How do you not like Star Wars? Everyone likes Star Wars.
Well, sure. I enjoy lighter fare just as much as the next girl.
It's about the dark side. How can it be lighter fare?
In the last movie, they were walking teddy bears.
They're Ewoks, and they helped defeat the damn Empire.
Rebel Force Radio. Rebel Force Radio.
You've already made that Star Wars reference.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars parody!
Oh, what an appropriate introduction for Star Wars in pop culture. Of course, the Goldbergs has gave us so many over its 10 years broadcast on so many Star Wars references there over on the Goldbergs. Great show, great Star Wars fans behind the scenes there. But Star Wars in pop culture this week, we are back. And what do we got on deck here?
Well, this is Bob Burger. Bob's Burgers, I should say. Bob Burger. Yeah, he's a guy I went to high school with, Bob Burger. I think he sells car insurance. Bob's Burgers. This is just a clip I found random. It's bussin'. This is a bussin' clip. I really don't know much about Bob's Burgers, but just from what I saw in this particular scene, it was the family is sitting around the kitchen table and the mom is complaining about, I guess, some of the hygiene of her fellow family members, and a Star Wars reference then occurs.
I have to go check the bathroom for stray hairs. No one sheds like this family. It's like a bunch of Chewbacca's.
There you go. The Chewbacca.
Of course, that's part of Animation Domination, which is voiced by James Arnold Taylor.
He's still at it.
He is.
I was watching NFL football this past Sunday, and promos were popping up left and right for Animation Domination. And that's James Arnold Taylor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you guys didn't know that, Jat has been voicing those promos for, at least a decade now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he is the voice of Animation Domination, and he does them from many a hotel room.
He's known to do that. Yeah. He takes the cushions off the sofa and he lines the closet with them to create this sort of ad hoc voice booth. And I guess that's good enough for the people at Fox.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Great.
awesome. Also awesome are the Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl seems to be one of the most down-to-earth rock stars that ever existed. He seems like just a regular guy, a real guy. And he's a guy who grew up as a member of the original Star Wars generation. And this comes as a tip from RFR listener Dallas. Dallas says he's a Foo Fighters fan, and he saw an old MTV interview with Dave Grohl. And Dave talks about Star Wars. So I looked it up and found it. This is Dave Grohl talking about George Lucas and growing up with Star Wars to MTV.
I was a Star Wars fanatic, man. Me and my friend Johnny Park used to go to the movie theater, pay to get into the 11 o'clock show and hide under the seats and watch the movie over and over and over again. I swear to God, before I was 13 years old, I think I saw that movie 100 times. No joking. I saw it so many times. I saw it so many times that before I'd go to sleep at night, if I couldn't go to sleep, I would replay the movie scene by scene in my head. And then I got listed action figures and all that. But I mean, George Lucas, it's like, you can't think of that guy without thinking of Star Wars. And Star Wars was the movie of the 70s. No question. Nothing could touch it. I think by making Star Wars, he introduced a whole new level of fantasy to film. Like he just raised the bar so high that you were taken to another galaxy and you believed it the whole time. You were in there. You didn't question the film, you didn't think this is fake. That's stupid. There's no such thing as laser guns. You were like, oh my God, that guy just got his head blown off by a laser. You know, I mean, he made it a part of your life, really. He expanded everyone's sense of imagination or fantasy, and that's not easy to do.
I love when these rock and roll guys you can tell they're super smart. Like Dave Grohl's one of those. You can tell that he's a super smart dude and understands the creative process and George's impact. And it's just funny to me that they would randomly ask him a question about George Lucas and growing up with Star Wars in this documentary or this interview. It seems like it's quite.
Well, here's
quite
what I find happens in these situations is the MTV person, the interviewer, has access to Dave Grohl, and they are given a list of questions to ask that will be appropriated in different MTV type productions. So they obviously were working on something to hype up one of the Star Wars films, and they needed rock stars talking about Star Wars.
Oh, I see. So this wasn't like a Nirvana or a Dave Grohl or a Foo Fighters piece, and he happens to be talking about Star Wars. I got you. Okay.
Like a clip of this interview might have ended up on MTV News.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about Foo Fighters in the music industry and things like his career. But then they sneak in a Star Wars George Lucas question because they'll use that then for another production that has something to do with hyping up a Star Wars film or something like that. MTV's done a lot of Star Wars things over the years.
Yeah.
Too.
Hey,
And,
they gave Chewbacca his medal. You know, they gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award, and that was fairly early on in the Star Wars resurgence of the 90s. That MTV.
One time, they did an MTV special outside of the main house at Skywalker Ranch, and a bunch of fans were there, and they had music and everything, and it was all to hype up a prequel film. And they had an actor in a Chewbacca suit jump behind the drum kit, and this guy started wailing on the skins as Chewbacca. Yeah, it's such a cool visual. You might be able to find it online somewhere, maybe on YouTube or whatever, but it was at the very end of this special. I want to say it's like Attack of the Clones era.
No way.
MTV. Yeah.
Wow.
So I always think of that when, and of course, Kurt Loder, he was the guy, he did that that nightly news show or whatever it was.
Right, MTV News. Yeah.
And then there was also like an afternoon show, and they would debut Star Wars music videos and stuff during the prequel era, especially when things were at its peak as far as hype goes.
Boy, do I remember that music video for Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
That I believe that one premiered on Entertainment Tonight. There was also the one Across the Stars. I believe that one debuted on MTV.
I think you're right.
The music video. And
so
then
there's always been tie-ins with that cable channel in Star Wars naturally. But what I like is they asked Dave Grohl, like I said, he's a member of the original generation of Star Wars fans. And what he presents in his perspective is truly what fans were thinking when it came to Star Wars. You believed it was real. It was presented to you in a way that it didn't dumb down the message and it didn't dumb down the content. The quality was on such a high level that as a kid in the 70s and 80s, seeing these films as they were coming out, I mean, there was nothing else that could compare to it at that time. And we all knew it. And it had a way of presenting the story in such a cool way. And Dave captures a lot of those types of emotions that I think original generation fans had concerning Star Wars. And unfortunately, it's that perspective that may be taken for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
Where Star Wars is just part of the Hollywood machine as opposed to something that really set the pace for entertainment to follow.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true.
All right, here's a show, Archer.
Oh, funny show. I don't seek it out, but boy, when I'm flipping around and I see it, 9 times out of 10, I'll stop on it, and it always makes me laugh. It's been going on forever. Long running show.
Yeah, this is season 14, episode 7. A bunch of people tipped us off to this one. Evan, Jason, a ton of people. And so I searched it out. There's a Star Wars reference in this episode of Archer, and I'd never seen Archer before, so I was surprised to see it was an animated show. I was like, oh, this show is animated. So I looked it up. Here's the Star Wars reference. It's quick, but it's pretty good.
Everything is happening exactly as it should, just as I foresaw.
Ugh. Want to try that again, but a little less Emperor Palpatine?
Hey, there's another adjective right there.
Right. Let's put that in Merriam-Webster.
A little less Palpatine, please.
Palpatine, adjective. One who contemplates evil and domination.
I think, Jim, you would dig, especially some of those early seasons of Archer. I think you'd like it.
Give me an elevator pitch for the show. Like, what is it about?
Think of James Bond meets David Puddy on Seinfeld.
Okay,
and that's Archer. Totally unapologetically out of time, out of place. Super spy. It's really, really, really funny. Funny stuff. Throwing a little South Park in there.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our superhero segment of the show. We're going to talk about the series The Flash. The Flash. This is another show I never really watched, The Flash. So I can't really set up this clip very well. It's a young character who's fretting the growth of his superpowers. He's obviously worried that it's something he's not going to be able to control. I'm assuming he's talking about some like super speed power. We were tipped off to this clip by Jeff Fish, or if our listener, Jeff Fish.
Oh, you don't have to be a fish to flounder.
Is that the cue?
I just said that for swank. It's a quote from the Popeye film from 1980. Robin Williams. I just did that for swank.
It's like right now I'm Anakin Skywalker. I've got the midi-chlorians. I've got the goods. But the Force is strong with me. That is something I can feel. But if I start opening breaches into other worlds, doing all this other crazy stuff Reverb was doing, then what if this is how I become Vader? Dude, you're never gonna become Vader. But you don't know that. That is what happened to Reverb. He learned how to use his abilities, and when he felt that power, he succumbed to the dark side.
That's interesting to me so much because now, granted, the prequel trilogy had the benefit of being a prequel, so it sort of it didn't just build on the classic trilogy. It kind of went and established itself as the roots in some ways of the prequel trilogy. But the one thing I'll say, despite all of the hand-wringing about the prequels over the years and the Jar Jar apologists and, all the debates and everything, the prequel trilogy did establish itself into the American pop culture. We see it here with The Flash, the Padawan, the story of Darth Vader, Anakin, midichlorians, all of that, right out of the prequels, Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Now, I'm not trying to close the book on the sequels. We may see a latent impact that the sequels will have. But there is something really special about the stories that George touched. They do find their way into the zeitgeist, into pop culture. And this Flash clip is a great example of it.
Yeah. I mean, the inclusion of the word Padawan in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is another one, both from the prequel era.
Yeah.
So the prequels, they have a very strong afterlife. Very strong. All right, to conclude our superhero segment, let's tune our TVs to Superman and Lois, Season 2, Episode 13, titled All Is Lost. All Is Lost. And another show I don't watch. and I know a lot about Superman lore, but apparently in this show he has a son, Clark has a son.
He does.
Yes. And so this is from Superman and Lois. Clark takes his son flying and tells him about a flying pattern he named after a Star Wars term, but his son will not get the reference. So what reference could it possibly be? Well, let's listen to this clip from Lois and Clark.
Can we do it again? Yes. Okay, we're gonna do one of my favorite flight paths. All right. I used to call it the Kessel Run. What's that?
You don't know the Kessel Run? It's the route the Millennium Falcon made in less than 12 parsecs.
All right. I hate to correct you, Mac. I hate to correct you, but you did introduce that clip as being from Lois and Clark, which was a 90s version.
Oh, no. This is Superman and Lois. Not
Superman and Lois.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, we discussed this before the show.
I think I put it in your head. I think that's the problem.
Yes.
This is a different series. Lois and Clark was a early to mid 90s kind of Sunday night soap opera, sort of almost like Moonlighting meets Star Wars. Superman and Lois, I haven't seen much of it, but it's takes itself a little bit more seriously. But yeah, he has a son.
He has a son. Yeah.
He has a son.
And Dean Cain and Terry Thatcher are nowhere to be seen. But
I think they've had cameos in the show. I think Terry Thatcher did.
What do I know? Well, Puffer Pig, not in those episodes. I think Joe Clements, RFR listener Joe Clements, for sending me that tip about Superman and Lois.
Yeah, well, I think that's our cue. I couldn't believe it. I realized I got one more page a few minutes ago. I'm like, oh, there's only one more page of the show rundown. I was having such a good time. Goes so fast. But man, oh man, what a great time. Thank you all so much for hanging with us. Hope you had a good time and maybe learned a few things. I know I did. I learned what the technical definition of a swale is. I've been using it wrong.
No.
And also, I didn't realize that Padawan dated all the way back to George's original treatment and was spelled with 2 A's.
Yep.
Padawan.
The alternate spelling.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that's what keeps me coming back here to the microphone each and every week to learn something new. Because we're fellow travelers on this stuff. I know a lot of Star Wars commentators that kind of take the approach that they know everything and you're here just to sort of drink from the fount of their wisdom. It's not the way we roll here at Rebel Force Radio. We are fellow travelers. We're fellow fans, and we're all in this together, digesting this stuff and having a lot of fun with it. And we are very grateful that you're here with us to do that. If you'd like to get more Rebel Force Radio in your life, best way to do it is through Patreon. You heard Mac talking about it. There's exclusive podcasts you won't find anywhere else. Buck in your listening gets you in the door. Plus, there's additional incentives the more you support us at Rebel Force Radio, including full show video, which is a lot of fun. So we're throwing up images, and a lot of the audio clips that you hear on the podcast are video clips, so you can actually see those videos, but only if you are a member of the All Access tier or above on the Patreon. So please give it a consideration. If it fits in your budget, we would love to have you. It's a great community of Star Wars fans, and you don't find them gathering in many places. RFR on Patreon is one of those. You can also watch us on YouTube. YouTube is a ever-growing and emerging channel for us here at Rebel Force Radio. So please check out the videos, whole repository of history of Rebel Force Radio, in addition to clips from the current shows. Check it out, Rebel Force Radio on YouTube. Please watch, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Really helps us out. Also, we're on the socials at Facebook and Instagram at Rebel Force Radio. RebelForceRadio.com is the official website. But the best thing you can do if you really want to help us out and support us is to do exactly what you're doing now. Keep watching, keep listening, spread the word, tell your friends about Rebel Force Radio. like we all have these friends at the day job and you know, maybe at church or wherever. Maybe when you're dropping the kids off to school, they see you wearing a Star Wars hoodie and they go, "Oh, nice hoodie. I like your hoodie." And of course, you know what that means. I like Star Wars too. Doesn't mean you like hoodies. It means you like Star Wars. And you strike up a conversation. Tell them about Rebel Force Radio. We would really appreciate it. So that's going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week for a lot more.
Blake versus FJ.
Oh my gosh. Blake versus FJ. That's right. The big face-off.
I can't wait.
We'll see you next time. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Ugh. Want to try that again, but a little less Emperor Palpatine-y?